Here we go. That's video. All right. This is it, everyone. This is what you signed up for. So sit back and enjoy. It begins in 3, 2, 1.
I'm bored. I want a boyfriend so I can have somebody to talk to, and then we can go dancing. No, we can't go dancing. No way.
We're not alike. I'm a hero.
The Morning Stream. Don't worry about him. Worry about me.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to TMS. It's the Morning Stream. It's Thursday, June 4th, 2020. I'm Scott Johnson. That guy right there is Brian Ibbett.
Hello. Good morning, Scott. Happy Friday Eve to you.
Yeah, I guess so. Time's weird right now. It feels like it's standing still and going faster at the same time, and it's an odd thing.
This week especially has felt like one of the fastest weeks.
Yeah.
I can't believe it is already Thursday.
Yeah, it's weird.
It just seems crazy. Yeah.
Don't love it. Don't love the time distortion. It's not my favorite part of all this. Anyway, small things, small matters. We're here to do a show. My sister will be here later. We'll do a little therapy Thursday. Got some interesting stuff to talk about.
I think we could all use it, right?
Yeah. I feel like a little guilty for complaining about what I'm about to complain about. Because it is kind of a first world problem. Okay, I know that. But our sprinklers took a dump yesterday. You know, the thing
they started pooping all over your lawn? Is that the deal?
Yeah, they took a big wet dump. They just stopped functioning properly and started doing weird leaky business and all kinds of weird stuff. And we were a little worried about maybe a broken pipe, which could lead to flooding, which is bad. So, we had our concerns. And we got on, of all places, I decided to check out Nextdoor to see if we could find a good recommendation. See,
that is just a place where you find nothing but neighbors loving and supporting one another and respecting opinions and views of all directions, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the place. Actually, ours isn't too bad. Ours isn't too bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Well.
We've had our moments. Like, there have been a couple of times, but for the most part, it's people like, "Hey, we found a cat. It's orange with this and that. Is anyone missing a cat?" And stuff like that. So
okay, and you don't get a commenter that says cats suck. I hate cats.
No, we do all right that way. I'm sort of impressed with our Nextdoor. So I was basically looking for any kind of comments or stuff about people who are sprinkler experts, because what I didn't want to do is hire some company that's going to come rake me over the coals, and charge me too much for a thing that's small, because that's usually what happens to me with sprinklers. And I don't know how to do it myself. I'm terrible at this. I don't know how it works. It's all magic under the grass.
And you don't have any sort of setup or anything, right? Like no initial infrastructure for a sprinkler system.
I mean, we do. We have a sprinkler system.
So this is just a repair or addition to.
Yeah, or we think something's broken because the sprinklers are leaking. Yeah,
dude. Well, that's easy to fix. Come on now.
See, because you're a real man and you live in a house and you know how to take care of things. I don't know how to do stuff. I'm bad at these things. I'm terrible at like domestic fixie stuff. I'm bad at it.
Here's the reason why I'm so good at it, because I did install my own sprinkler system back when we basically completely desodded the lawn.
Yeah.
Leveled everything, put in better soil, put in a brick structure or a retaining wall with around a tree, so Tina could have a garden in there, and then laid in the sprinkler system and all that. Now, there were a couple places where I didn't bury it deep enough.
Okay.
Is the problem.
All right.
And so every spring we find a line or part of it that even if we have it blown out, a part of it that just with the normal freezing and thawing of life in Colorado,
right,
we'll get a crack and it'll just start spring. So are you finding, is the issue, this is great, we'll just do a little sprinkler repair here on TMS.
Sure.
So is it that there's a couple sprinklers that are on a line that are not putting out what they should be putting out? Because all I've gotten is they took a dump. The sprinkler system took a dump.
Yeah, I wasn't very clear. Let me define dump. So
Yes.
the pressure was weird, and also so you're right. Some stations were getting more water than others, but then the other major thing that we noticed was that the sprinklers in the front yard were just leaking all day, just going all day. Not a lot, but enough to create non-drying puddles around them. And we normally run these at like 3 a.m, right? That's when we normally do.
Right. Now, are they leaking all day, or is there are they just collecting water in that area and it's taking a lot longer for that area to dry because there might be a leak or something there?
The heads themselves are are going.
Okay, so there's stuff coming out of. All right, you're gonna need a guy for that.
Yeah.
You what you should do is check out next door.
Well, all right. So then, okay, no, I like this because it's like the train took a detour.
Okay, now we've identified where Brian's knowledge starts and ends.
Yeah.
Brian can find the leak in the in the line, dig up that section of earth, dig a big hole around where the leak is, cut the 2 pieces of line, do a little splinty joiny thing with some plastic pieces you can pick up at your local Ace Hardware.
Yeah.
Bury everything back up and be good. And Brian does that pretty much every spring.
That doesn't sound too bad. And we get this. We have a similar problem because we get cold surface stuff, obviously, because we get a lot of snow in the winter, and so how deep your pipes are matters and that sort of stuff. And if you got weird roots from trees that are pushing funny on pipes, you can break them or all that stuff. So I'm at least aware of the nightmares that can come from all of this. But we thought, well, all right, a pressure difference, and then those two are kind of bubbling all day. Let's see what we can find. So we got on there, and immediately I found a whole bunch of people that were recommending the name Alejandro. And I went, ooh.
Is Lady Gaga in your community?
I don't know, but there's a weird egg up the street just laying there. Maybe that's where she lives.
A little meat dress discarded in the recycling.
Oh, yeah. Where did that meat dress come from? No one knows. So anyway, Alejandro is in there, and we're like, well, he is getting just raves from people, and he's just an independent guy doing this on his own. Just goes around, does people's sprinklers. And I thought, well, you know what? Let's try it. I don't want to call, Sprinklers R Us and get ripped off. Let's see if this guy's a Morrison shooter or whatever. Anyway, we call
Bath Sprinklers and Beyond. Yeah.
So we call Alejandro on his phone, and he says hello, and we say, yeah, we're.
I am the most interesting sprinkling repair person in the world.
He says I'm at a installation in American Fork, which is like 30 minutes north or south of us. And he's like, but I can be there by 1, perhaps earlier.
I love that he's all of a sudden Puss in Boots. This is good.
So I said, or Kim says, well, that sounds great. Thank you. And he's so businesslike. He's like, yes, just text me your address. I will be there. It's just very simple, quick, boom, 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 boom. And
is he going to leave a burning Z in your lawn when he's done?
Yeah, before he leaves, put on his mask. I am the helper of the people, and then he leaves. So he comes out here. And ended up showing up at 11. So I think we were still on the show, or I was finishing up or something around then.
Okay.
And he showed up and got working on it right away. Turns out this is what it is. And he did an amazing job. And he was super transparent. He's like, okay, I'm going to the Home Depot. I will be picking up the following parts. They cost this much money, and this is my labor. Like, he was just super straightforward about everything.
That's great.
It was awesome. It wasn't like, my cash is somewhere, but it wasn't like that.
Yeah. This will take me between 1 and 17 hours to fix.
Yeah. I mean, I was honestly a little worried about that because that's what always happens. But this didn't happen this time. So he says, here is the list. I require half the money now so I can go purchase the parts. And I will be back shortly. So he goes, he gets the stuff. He comes back.
Put it into a clean, white, unmarked envelope and leave it on your doorstep.
Comes back with the stuff, and here's what he changed. So now we go back to what Brian knows about sprinkling. You tell me if any of this sounds familiar. All right?
Sure.
He put in the ground new solenoids. Do we know what those are?
Solenoids.
I think he called them solenoids.
Solenoids?
Maybe solenoids. He was very cool about it. But anyway,
solenoid.
Is that right? Chat room's all repeating it. Okay.
So when you rip up the, so you probably have along one of your paths to your garden or your back lawn. This is where we have ours.
Yeah.
There are a couple of like square covers in the ground that you pull up.
Yes.
And under those are these, in addition to thousands of spiders that make you never want to stick your hand in there, are the actual valves that open and close and let water to each of the different zones.
Yeah, that's basically it. He opened that box and he dug around it and out and made it bigger and got a whole new encasement for it, which he threw in for free. I give you this part for free.
Oh, wow, that's cool. Okay.
So he does that, and then he does these what he called solenoids. There were 3 of them or 4 of them. They're basically like these little controller units on top of joints that then go off to the different stations. He said that all the stations look fine and that all the lines are fine. It was just these are getting, they're 10 years on or something, time to get these swapped out. So he got those are new. He also put in a thing
that would make sense, right? The solenoid isn't closing the valve all the way, so zone 3 is still sputtering out some agua.
Some agua, exactly. And so then he says, this part here, this part is important, he says. And he points to this new hole that he's made with a round green tube thing with a top on it. You pull that off, and on there's like a little stem sticking up with what otherwise I can't really tell what it does. And we're like, well, what does that do? Okay, let me explain. And he says, so you take a air compressor, and in the winter, right before the winter, when you're shutting it all down, you screw it into there and blow them out. We've never done that before. I didn't know you could do that. So
that's how you keep from water staying in the sprinkler line and freezing, and then cracking the sprinklers in the spring.
Right, because the water expands. Right, that's the reason you don't want to have a hose hooked up to your backyard when the snow starts happening, because it starts to creep up there and freezes the
and
pipes,
then when it thaws,
it
expands and cracks the crap out of stuff. Yes.
Yeah, even copper stuff can break, so you got to be careful.
Did you say, do I need to actually use an air compressor, or can I just put my lips on that thing and blow real hard?
I mean, I don't have a compressor is actually a thing, so I said, is that the only way? Yes, you must use a compressor, an air compressor.
The only reason I have a compressor is because in art school I had to buy an airbrush for one class, and so I had to buy a whole air compressor, airbrush, all that stuff.
Well, I do have one of those, but it's only this big. I don't think it's enough to do anything. It's good for airbrushing, but I don't think it's good enough.
I have a bigger one that makes tremendous amount of noise.
Yeah, they're really loud, aren't they? Those things.
They're really, really loud. Yeah.
I don't know why someone can't make a quiet air compressor. It's weird. But anyway, and then we settled up. He did exactly what he said he would do. He did it very fast and very efficiently. He says, now, all that remains is this. If for some reason you require if something happens and is not working properly, hold on to my number and let me know immediately. And then he went, yeah, and then the whole room went poof in smoke, and he disappeared.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you need me, just take this leaf, write an A on it, and put it in the wind, and I shall be there shortly.
Alejandro will show up shortly. I love this guy.
Light this flame. You'll see another green hole in the backyard.
This guy's amazing. Here's what's cool about him. Like a year ago, he was giving Kim all this backstory, but he was working with a contractor landscaper company for years and years and years, and then they laid a bunch of them off. And I can't remember what the reason was. It wasn't COVID-19 related, I don't think. But he just so annoyed that he's like, I will start my own, and I will do everything people need, including sprinkler systems. And he just has this great little business, and he's kicking butt, and everyone loves him. And so, anyway, if you live anywhere in South Jordan, West Jordan, or actually anywhere in the
American
valley,
Fork, clearly,
anywhere in the valley, this dude will come and help you, and he's awesome. And his name is Alejandro. All right, there's that. We had spikes. I don't know about you guys, but the Memorial Day reopening stuff, we're starting to see the results of that here in Utah. We had quite a steep spike in positive COVID-19 cases, and this is not from protests. That we won't see those. We won't see whatever that did
2 weeks
for
a week to 2 weeks. Yeah, you won't see that.
Yeah, so I assume Denver's probably in the same boat. Every city that did some, Memorial Day sort of hey, let's go party in a lake sort of stuff, I think there's probably going to be a spike. That really bums me out because in 2 weeks we're going to see what the protest spike looks like. And I hope we don't undo 3 months of quarantine in one fell swoop. Not that I don't think this is worth it, but I mean, what is happening right now is extremely important. But I really don't want a whole bunch of more COVID-19 deaths. I mean, that seems like an obvious statement. I don't want any more people to die. Yeah. I don't.
I'd like the COVID to end, please.
Yeah, could we have the COVID be done? That'd be okay.
I'd like to vote. I don't know if they're going to put it to a vote, but I'm going to vote against COVID.
Is that on the ballot this November? Because I'd like to get rid of it.
And Lon puts a good comment in the chat room that we are going to see a spike, mostly because a lot of states are now getting more and more testing available. We've got something like 7,000 to 8,000 tests a day, maybe even more than that. Maybe I'm.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah, maybe that's about.
No,
right.
85. Here it is. 8,500 to 10,000 tests daily is now what we can do in Colorado. So because the test numbers are going up, we're going to see case numbers go up because.
Yeah, more tests, more cases, right?
Makes sense, right?
Yeah. I guess that's true. There's probably a way to parse that data and say, okay, well, of those tests, we expected this growth, but it's higher because of, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do the math on this and find out how many are, how many of those can you blame on rapid reopening or, people making some bad decisions in big groups versus these are just new tests because we're testing more. I don't know. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah,
that stuff's complicated. That's why this stuff sucks, because then what happens is people get desperate in their heads and they start coming up with their own answers and and then there's all over the place.
So many different variables. Who had another condition that they happened to die because of that condition, but they died with COVID or COVID exacerbated an issue or whatever. So there's so many so many variables that have to be taken into consideration when you look at numbers for this thing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of it may come down to death numbers, because then there you can confirm the case, even post-mortem. So you end up having, if you end up having a big spike in deaths confirmed to be COVID-19, that feels like a more definitive thing of like, oh, there was a rise during this period for this reason. Not just testing. Do you know what I mean? And that sucks. I don't want death to be the way we figure it out. That would be bad.
No, that's an unfortunate variable to have to monitor. It's probably what a lot of it's going to come down to. But did Alejandro wear a mask, by the way?
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he was great. He was just.
Did his long mustache though peek out of the sides?
I love that we've all got a visual of what Alejandro looks like. Yeah, he was
the mask over his face or just over his eyes?
He was. If I had to guess, the guy's probably like 32, 33. He was fit, thin. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It was kind of heroic in a weird way. I just really liked him. I thought he was great. So
that's cool.
So
there's part of me every spring that says, maybe I should just pay a guy to fix these and bury them deep enough to where these few trouble spots that we have are low enough that they don't get affected by the freezing and thawing.
Yeah. Well, but
and then I don't need to do it every year.
It's expensive is the problem. Like that kind of stuff, they don't go cheap. Like this dip was not, even though he gave us, I think, the best deal I would have gotten. Like we were looking at estimates of so one place was going to do like $2,000 if we looked it up and looked at their pricing, and other places were more. This was like less than $600. And
that's not bad.
That's because he was all about, half of this is labor, half of this is the parts I am buying for you.
We'll need half up front.
Yeah, and he just ran. I mean, he did it all himself. Ran over the Home Depot, grabbed what we needed. I mean, it wasn't as good as getting them wholesale, I guess, but still, whatever. I don't want Alejandro to get the Rona. I want him to stay clear away from the Rona.
Sounds like he's being careful. He's taking precautions.
He is being very precautionary.
Oh yes, I maintain a strict 6-foot distance with every customer that I see.
I mean, it's a little like what he sounds like. I have to. You guys think I'm making it up, but it's kind of like that, and it was so endearing. I loved it.
May I invite you to brunch? It's not quite breakfast, not quite lunch, and you get a slice of cantaloupe at the end.
Wait, what's that from? That's from
Simpsons.
Simpsons.
That was the bowling the bowling guy that Marge hooks up with.
Yeah, she
that
dated
teaches her how to bowl.
the dating did she date? She went out with him because Homer was with Lurleen, or is that a different thing?
I think that was a different thing. She went out with because Homer, I guess, was just ignoring her. This was like a season 1, I think, season 1 or 2.
Yeah, very early.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What a great reference. All right, Brian.
Oh, she does it because he's always Homer's always bowling, and she wants to like find a common interest that they both can do together. So she takes up bowling, but her bowling instructor is
Oh yeah, he's a skeevy dude with plans.
Skeevy dude,
yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well.
All right. Anyway,
that's all available on Disney Plus. Check it out.
And now you can watch it in widescreen.
Yeah.
Wow. Or not widescreen. You can watch it without things getting cut off. Wow.
Oh right, they did that, didn't they? I forgot.
They did that. They fixed it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well done. Can I choose, or does it default now to?
You can choose. There's a button, a switch.
Okay, I like that.
A simp switch.
I like that because I understand people who want it to fill their screens. I get it. But I also understand people who want the purity of the original format. So thanks for the choice, Disney. We appreciate it. All right, Brian, tell me about your socially distant poke rating. What the hell does that even mean?
I'm getting called out by Bagheera. He says, "No, so wrong."
What?
Is it because I was wrong that Homer bought her the bowling ball for a birthday present? That's right. And so that's when she decided to take up bowling. That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Is that the thing? Is that what the Bagheera?
I always mix it up because there's a couple of episodes, 2 or 3 episodes, where it's all about the strength of Homer and Marge's marriage and whether it can withstand a rough patch, right?
Yeah.
And so one time it's Lurleen. Homer becomes Lurleen's manager, kind of Elvis style, and travels around with her. And Lurleen starts making moves on him, and he bails. Because he loves Marge, and it's this really sweet sort of, story about fidelity. And then Marge has had her moments, and I think the one you're talking about is the one where she could have gone with this disgusting bowling guy.
Exactly. Yes. It was based on the fact that Homer bought her an insensitive bowling ball gift, and so she's like, "I'll teach him." Anyway,
I might have to watch
so yeah, I did. Something called socially distant pokey rating.
Pokey rating. I thought it was poke
rating. I know.
Right.
I know. That's great. I love that you. So obviously you know that Pokemon Go has raids that pop up at gyms all over the place. And then Wednesdays from 6 to 7, they do hour-long. They're called raid hours, where it's the featured legendary of the month. Gets kind of showcased in all the raids. And so you can go to a location that's got a bunch of gyms and just hop from gym to gym to gym and battle and try and catch it, Well, because of social distancing, Niantic has created these things called remote raid passes. So you can sit in your house and any raids you can see, you can access using one of these remote raid passes and not have to drive to the location and sit in the parking lot and go do. You can do it from home.
So like a regular video game instead of the one that you have
a regular video game. The only problem is there is no there are no raids visible from my house, but there's a neighborhood called Five Parks just up the street from us that has about 12 gyms that you can all see from from a central location.
Sure.
And this is the area where back before social distancing, the Pokemon group used to kind of go hop from gym to gym to gym and on these raid nights. And do this, and it was fun. We'd all hop out of our cars and we'd be chit-chatting, because really, if you've got a strong enough team or enough people, you can just sit there and go tap 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 with your thumb on your phone, and not even make eye contact with your phone. You can make eye contact with all the people you're talking to, and we catch up and see how school's going for this guy, or how karate dojo's going for this woman, and da 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 da.
Yeah.
So,
was it like this? I have a clip of this happening live. Hold on.
Tap 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 dodge, tap 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 hold.
Is it like that?
That's it. That's pretty much it. Yeah, that's exactly it.
All right, great. Anyway,
now with the remote raids though, we can actually sit in a central location. We sat on some rocks in the central part of this whole neighborhood area. We just sat there in one place. We didn't have to drive around our cars. We had our masks on. Kept talking and hit every single gym without having to drive between them.
Wow. So it's kind of isn't it sort of antithetical to this idea, though, that they don't let you access these no matter where you're at in case you can't see them on your map? You know what I mean? Like, shouldn't they just let... I don't know. I guess that goes against what Pokemon Go is. And
yeah, I agree, though. It'd be nice if they allowed you to attack gyms that were slightly out of your vision area. Or like, I mean, there are ways, Scott, you can spoof your location, but...
yeah.
Yeah, no, you can, at least you can get to the ones on your map without having to drive to them. It'd be another step to say that somebody could invite you, and that might be the next thing, is that they're working on, because for some reason it's sounding familiar, that somebody at a raid you can't see can invite you to a raid.
Oh, okay.
To play with them.
That makes sense. That's cool. I like that. That way your friends and stuff are still,
exactly
pulling each other in and stuff. That's great. That's very cool.
But anyway, it was kind of fun to get back together and hang out with the Arvada Pokemon group and do some raiding.
Did you kill?
Especially because
you kill the giant Pikachu or whatever the hell you fight in that thing? How'd it go?
I killed many Reshiram's. We did 8 raids, and I have 7 Reshiram's.
Wow.
Which is the current legendary. It's this big flying white. It looks like a poodle dragon, is what it looks like.
All right, never-ending story looking dog, or is it a different...
kind of?
Okay.
Yeah, little never-ending story-esque. I'll say.
That's a long esque.
People miss the old esque that I used to use all the time.
Do they?
They do.
Oh, okay.
They do.
All right. No, I mean, I can only talk for me. I also missed it, but I just
whatever.
Didn't know if the rest
People
of the
miss
world...
it, Scott. People miss it.
All right, fair enough. I like it. I was gonna say something about the I forgot. Oh,
yeah.
I have a question for the public at large. All right, so this is this isn't political. I don't think it is.
Oh,
but
I'm kind of worried already.
You
Scott.
shouldn't be. I promise. This isn't that big a deal.
Okay. All right.
But the Washington Redskins put up a black screen and then a note saying Black Lives Matter and racial justice and all this. And I replied and said, okay, now I said, cool, now do red.
Right, yes.
I am a little shocked how many people didn't understand what I was talking about when I said that.
There have been so many things that have happened since the whole, hey, you guys should change the name of the racially insensitive name Redskins to something else.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of stuff has happened since then, Scott, that people have probably forgotten about. Why do people say, I don't get it. Why red?
Yeah, they don't understand the red part. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe it's because they named their name after Native American Indians. And it's about the color of their skin. You get it? Red sky. I feel like it's a weird thing to have to explain to people.
Full disclosure, Scott, it took me a second, but I did get it after a couple seconds. Like, oh yeah, red. Yeah, because they did that whole thing where
everybody got the Colin Kaepernick one when I applied to the 49ers. They did a thing, and I wrote Colin Kaepernick with like a word because they're in the middle of that when he was when we were all mad at them for peacefully protesting.
Right.
Anyway, I just didn't understand it. Why nobody could get not nobody. A lot of people were confused about the Redskin comment. That blew my mind.
It like I said. It might have been too subtle for some people. It also, like I said, it's been a very chock full of events while since that happened. There are many things, many good things and bad things.
Yeah, and
both
bad
sides
things.
have
And
happened.
good things. Both sides. Good sides. Both sides. All right.
All that
well, there's that. Good Pokemon rating. Good Alejandro. Life is good. Let's now enjoy this.
You need to read this, sir. You need to read it now.
Time for the news, brought to you by
Red Robin. Go get a tasty burger at Red Robin today.
Is that what you're getting for lunch today? Is that what you're going to do?
No, I don't know. That is honestly like only thing I was able to come up with when I saw that we had nothing written for
No, that's a sign, though. That's a sign that you should go to Red Robin. That's what that is.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's maybe they should change their name to All Robins.
Yeah.
Every color of Robin is good too.
Yeah, all the Robins. Do you have a?
We support many Robins.
Do you have a? Do you have wingers there? Is that a thing you guys have? a restaurant named Wingers?
We don't have Wingers, but Kip Winger used to live here in Colorado.
Oh, okay, close enough.
Grew up in Lakewood. Yeah, does that count?
Yeah, it totally does. I think they might be Utah only. Let me just see real quick here. They are wingerbros.com. Hold on. These are called Wingers Restaurants.
We have Wingstop.
We have those as well. Let's see. Takeout
Actually,
locations.
You know
Here we
what's
go.
funny? One of the people that I was raiding with last night, Pokemon raiding, and then I came home and we beat our heads against Nazoth for 2 hours. And
Oh, speaking of rating.
finally
yeah.
made progression into phase 3, but that's as far as we got. He is a monster, but
Yeah.
he's also the most difficult boss in this expansion. But anyway, one of the people we were raiding with was talking about how Rockabilly's, which is just a couple miles down the road, apparently has excellent wings because they're smoked and then finished in the fryer. So
Oh.
they start out smoked
Oh, very nice.
and then they get fried.
That sounds really good. All right. Well, this place called Wingers here in Utah, there's tons of them. I think there's like 14 or 20 or something. They may be, and I think there's some in Idaho. Anyway, the point is, they have, I forgot how good they were. And the other day when, we do a similar thing like you, it's like one day a week. We're like, all right, who are we going to help today? Who are we going to patron today?
Sure.
A restaurant that, is having a hard time here.
Support. Who are we supporting this week?
Yeah, so we did Wingers this time, and man, I forgot just how good those burgers are. So the reason I bring this up, they make this thing called the Winger Burger. Their wings are amazing too, but the Winger Burger
Winger Burger.
is so good that I would put it up next to any of your favorite burgers, and I'll bet in a blind taste test, I'll bet I could convert you to these burgers.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're
okay.
so good. Just knowing the kind of burger guy you are and that you like Red Robin, you like that one with the pineapple on
I
it.
like
and
the
all that.
bonsai.
Yeah. I think
But I like the bonsai because of the pineapple and teriyaki. I don't know if that's, you'd give me another burger
Oh, good point.
and I'd say that's a very good burger, but if I want pineapple and teriyaki, it failed. at
Yeah,
that.
no, good point. That's a good point. I wonder if
By the way, Vernal, Utah is the closest wingers to me.
Don't go to Vernal.
Really? Is
Yeah,
Vernal-
Vernal's not great. It's kind of a dump.
But they've got a wingers, Scott.
Yeah, Vernal. Vernal.
They've also got the Utah Fieldhouse of Natural History State.
All right, here's the truth. I haven't been to Vernal since like 85, so it's possible it's gotten better. Okay, I don't know. But when I was there in the 80s, it's not great.
All right. Okay. Canceling my plans this weekend to go to Vernal. Great. Thanks.
Yeah, the Vernal
Now
trip's
what am I
off,
gonna
Tina.
do?
Yep, forget it. Forget about opening up the society and going out. Vernal's off the table.
Yeah.
All right.
Forget you, Vernal.
Check this out. A Dallas police officer, or Dallas police in general, bunch of officers, asked people to call out protesters who they saw doing violent stuff or, breaking into things, or basically just, hey, if you guys, this is on their all their social media stuff and on their app. They have a Dallas PD app. And they were asking people, hey, if you got tips about people doing bad stuff in these protests, why don't you let us know? So instead, people flooded, and I mean flooded the app with just K-pop, just Korean pop music. And it's just videos and GIFs and sound and just nothing but K-pop. They kind of asked for it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I kind of be into that. I like K-pop, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, oh, this is me. I'd be like, hey, this is pretty good. I like that.
It says the police department asked people to send him video of illegal activity from the Black Lives Matter protests in the city through their iWatch Dallas app, where people can submit photo, video, or text tips about possible crimes. Instead, they flooded him with pictures and videos of K-pop artists. In response to the tweeted request from Dallas police, hundreds of them replied with this stuff. Within hours of the original tweet, the Dallas department followed up with a tweet that said, the Dallas iWatch app was temporarily down due to technical difficulties. No, it wasn't. You just got flooded with K-pop and you didn't like it, so you shut it down. Anyway, I guess if you're a K-pop fan at the department, you were loving this, right? You were into it.
I think so. I think this would be a banner day. Oh, I heard 5 great new songs that I need to pick up on Amazon Music.
Yeah. You're writing checks that Psy can't cash, they say in that police department. Yeah, ask for evidence.
Dallas police style.
Oh, yeah. That's the other thing. FBI asked for evidence, and people flooded it. Evidence of wrongdoing, and people flooded their account with cops beating up people from the protests. So.
Yeah.
Probably not what they were asking
when you
for.
ask the public for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
in this current climate, maybe not a bad idea, or maybe not a good idea to do the public forum.
Somebody down there thought that was a good idea, but I don't know who it was. They were dumb.
Yeah.
Let's go to Colorado for a story.
Oh no.
It's where you live.
Colorado connection.
Yeah, that's what we got here. Colorado man is facing drug charges. Oh, okay, sorry. Real quick on the Utah side. You know the Hawkeye guy that was all over the news for
Arrow
and everything?
Bow and Arrow man. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He decided that he wanted to take to Facebook or somewhere where he put up a video to explain himself. He's currently under arrest, and I think out on, awaiting
on bail.
arraignment.
Or waiting trial. Sure, waiting. Right.
But anyway,
so he's at his home making Facebook videos.
I wish you were wrong. He's not only that, but apparently he doesn't have good air conditioning because he's just sitting there in his underwear. Really? Yeah, and he's like I don't know, he looks 60-something. He's just all hanging out and, not the fittest man I've ever seen. And he's just sort of laying there in his lumpy self and trying to explain himself and why what he did was great and sitting there in his underwear. Good job, man.
That seems like the message you don't want to send.
Yeah, it's not really helping his case.
Literally the message you don't want to send.
Yeah, it's not really.
I'd like people to hear my side of things.
Yeah.
Exactly. Pay attention to my words and don't get distracted by random patches of hair and lumps where there probably shouldn't be lumps.
Yeah, although she get those checked out. DJ Shazzy in the Jeff, I almost said, in the chat says, to be fair, the FBI is supposed to investigate police brutality. Yeah, no, that's true. They're supposed to. I hope they are. That'd be cool because there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of all sorts of stuff going on, but that's definitely a lot of what's going on. So, yes, please investigate those things.
I mean, I know it's an obvious thing to say, but there's got to be a way to maintain the camaraderie and the fact that you've got to have each other's backs in the police department, but not have it go so far as to turn a blind eye when you see a fellow officer doing something wrong. And you're like, well, I can't snitch on him because of the thin blue line or the blue line.
Yeah. Like kneeling on a guy's neck until he dies, like that.
That would be a good example of this, yes.
Yeah. I think that seems like a thing they all should have maybe spoke up about.
Exactly.
They all had
there needs to be a middle ground.
Didn't they all have their or no, the main cop had his charges increased
to second-degree murder
because it was
the other three guys were aiding and abetting is now what the
okay. So they were officially charged as well.
They're charged now. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's progress.
Mm-hmm.
Some. Okay, where are we here? Oh, police arrest a man who claimed he was making healthy meth in Colorado.
Healthy meth.
Yep.
Comes in a green box with a leaf on the label.
It's they're out there trying to do the right thing. Colorado man is facing drug charges after police said he told them he was attempting to create a healthy meth substance with acai berries.
Acai berries.
I've always heard it like I don't know what I've heard.
I think that's how I was told because I used to pronounce it acai berries.
Yeah,
but it's acai berries.
Acai berries.
I believe somebody in the chat room is going to acai. Yeah, okay, so it's 3 syllables. Acai.
Acai berries.
That's dumb.
That's
dumb, and I refuse.
It is dumb. Who made that up? It's dumb.
Acai.
It's dumb.
That's like it's the equivalent of going bye. Yeah. I'm gonna go get some acai berries. Bye.
Bye. I hate that. Anyway,
yeah, maybe we adjust the pronunciation of that thing and just kind of change everything.
Yeah, call it a chachi berry. I don't know.
A chachi berry. Yeah. Joni loves a chachi berry.
That's pretty good. Anyway, Craig Williams Rogers. Oh, he's trying to do this in his garage, and the search of the garage didn't turn up any meth, which is interesting. But anyway, Craig William Rogers, age 49, was arrested in suspicion of controlled substance possession, possession of drug paraphernalia, and unlawful distribution, manufacturing, and dispensing of a controlled substance. Longmont Times reported. Is that
wait, okay.
Yeah.
Longmont is northeast of Boulder, connected by a diagonal road affectionately called the Diagonal.
Oh. Really?
And when I was doing Lyft, I'd start in Boulder, and I'd do all these great little short trips, beep, 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 all over, and then inevitably somebody would say, "I need to go to Longmont," and so it'd be like a nice 45-minute drive from Boulder up to Longmont, at which time I wouldn't get any more rides.
Oh wow,
which is a bummer.
That is a bummer.
So Oh, okay. Lemonade does bring up a good point. Can't really call it Hawaii, our state. It is Hawaii. Okay.
Oh.
Acai, Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Lemonade.
That's a good point. See, look at us. We're willing to admit when you guys make a good point.
Exactly.
We always are.
One state. Anyway.
One beautiful law. Yeah, go ahead.
They searched this guy's garage where they claimed he had a meth lab, and they didn't find any meth. So is he trying to make meth out of acai berries? Is that the deal?
It sounds like it to me. He says, this is what he told officers. He says, I'm making a healthy meth substance in my home because of these berries, according to the affidavit. Booking documents do not indicate if Rogers had an attorney who can speak on his behalf. They found the berry-like substance inside the lab, adding there's no way or no possible way to make a healthy methamphetamine. But they also said no amount of meth is safe, whether it has a berry in it or not, says the police. It is a highly addictive, life-destroying drug. Well, I think we can all agree on that.
Sure.
But they also said no meth was found inside the house, the garage, or found inside the garage, but believes Rogers had the tools to make an ounce of the stuff a day if he wanted to, but they didn't find any. They said they will test the duplex where Rogers was living for meth contamination. He's scheduled for a formal filing of charges on Friday in Boulder District Court.
If there's any part of the state that is going to work on a healthy version of meth, I would actually think it would have been Boulder as opposed to Longmont. But Longmont is kind of like the what's a
mont? Why is it long?
Right? You think it would be a long mountain?
Yeah.
It's like Boulderless. It's,
okay.
A lesser version of Boulder.
Oh.
Still hippie, and some really actually cool, trendy areas now that have opened up in there. But it's like the part of the city that wants to be Boulder.
I get that.
Yeah.
There are places like that around here too.
Yeah.
There's lots of Park City wannabes in our canyons. Lots of people trying to be Park City. They can't quite do it. All right. Oh, by the way,
good on this guy though for trying to come up with a healthy version of meth. I think that actually should be applauded. That actually should be supported.
Yeah, let's support his berry meth.
Maybe berries aren't the way to do it, but maybe spinach or kale meth.
Well, have you ever had
It's a superfood, Scott.
Have you ever had this berry? I've never had this berry, I don't think.
Yeah, you've had this berry.
Have I had this berry?
If you've gotten any juice bar in the last 5 years, you've had something with acai berries in it.
That's true. I guess I have. I've never really thought about it or looked at the ingredients of anything I've ordered, and I just feel like I don't get in my life very often. I'm kind of a strawberry, raspberry, blackberry kind of guy. I'm boring.
Are you? You go with the
standards,
The Trinity.
Oh, you know what? I saw this on TikTok, and this thing I saw on TikTok freaked me out, and I need to try it myself. I haven't done it yet, but apparently, if you go buy,
I don't watch the TikTok.
If you go and buy a thing like whatever those containers are of strawberries with the holes in it,
the plastic containers. Yes.
If you go buy one of those and then you put it in salt water or dump the berries in salt water in like a bowl. And then give it a few minutes, a whole bunch of like millipedes and freaking bugs and earwigs and stuff come out of the bear. That's what I saw this on TikTok multiple times now. It could all be faked. It's totally possible. So I need to do it myself, but I'm kind of afraid to because I like me a berry,
Hold on. I gotta.
Let's see. Salt water. How do I find this? Salt water.
I'm doing strawberry TikTok salt water.
Berry bugs. Here
Multiple
it is.
TikTok videos this week have shown that submerging strawberries in salt water for several minutes will draw out the bugs that apparently live inside them. The bugs you've been consuming all along, if like me, are used to giving your berries a simple rinse before eating them. So, yes.
Gross!
They're coming out of the strawberries.
Yeah, and it's not stuff like little micro ones that you can't barely see or the little tiny ticky looking things. The ones I've seen are big ass ones. Here, chat room, I'm going to show a video. We're going to watch this one, and we're going to see this lady do it. All right, here we go.
All right, I wish I could watch.
So how do you wash your strawberries? Usually just in the sink, right?
That's how I do it, but apparently there's little bugs inside these guys.
Okay.
What you do is you fill up a glass with water, fill it with salt, and after the salt is dissolved, you put the strawberries in. Let's see what happens.
So she just puts a few in.
Yeah, it's moving. There it is. Oh my god. I'm gonna barf.
There's something moving in her
Oh,
strawberry.
that's so gross. I am so disgusted right now.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay, put
So
it
I
in
just
the...
woke up and the first thing that I thought about was those freaking strawberries. It's not a dream, it's real.
Okay, she's having too much fun. But the point is...
Oh, they're teeny tiny little guys too. This one's showing teeny tiny little.
I saw one where a big old freaking centipede-looking thing came crawling out of there. I felt like catching it and giving it to Tom Nook or something. It was horrible.
Blathers.
Yeah, Blathers needs it on display. Woo! I was trying to sleep. Oh, can I tell you how glad I am I'm not doing stickers in that place anymore? Good Lord, I was sick of that.
Stickers.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the stamps? I
Yeah.
just did the first day and said that's all I need. I don't
know,
need
but
multiple.
but every day he'd tell you about it again.
Oh, I know, right? And you'd have to go through an entire like B, get through this whole like discussion thing, and it didn't even end with, now that we've gotten through all that, how can I help you today? No,
Yeah.
you had to start a second conversation with the damn guy.
Yeah, it sucked. It was not
No,
great.
no,
It was
Have you
fine the
been-
first
Have you
time.
been going to Marv's Island and taking pictures of the happy
no,
couple?
No, I should do that, right? Right.
Yeah, every day it's a different thing. So like you got to do a picture of their wedding ceremony and then the reception.
What do you get for
And
that?
I told
They give you something
you
for
get
that?
you get heart crystals that you can use to buy other things for your island.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Another currency to worry about.
Another currency to worry about, and I don't know what you get when you take pictures of them recreating the wedding night, but it proves to be it'll prove to be an exciting photo session.
You'll get things you wish you didn't have in your head. All right.
Can't unsee what those llamas are doing.
Nope. All right, we're gonna take our break. When we come back, Wendy will be here. We're gonna talk about some pretty interesting concepts and also find out what's happening in her town in Minnesota, where she is, where all of this sort of sprang, and see how she's doing and what they're doing in very positive ways to help the community. So we'll learn about that in a minute. Before that, though, a song presented and delivered by the hands of Brian Ibbett.
Yeah. So we're going to an artist from Australia, I believe. No, I'm sorry, England.
Oh.
Named Child, Childe. Make sure you spell it with an E. Started writing music as a teenager and was inspired by folks like Tracy Chapman, Bright Eyes, Connor Oberst, people like that. And then went to the Brit School in London, the performing arts high school that like Adele and Amy Winehouse and folks went to.
Okay.
He wrote this song. The song you're about to hear is called Bad Ideas, and it was inspired by a trip that he took with his dad. When the two of them went on like on holiday, as he said, and his dad allowed him to drink, and I think even.
Hi, Fred. How's the old golf game?
Don't ask. 6 inches of snow and a blizzard on the way. What do you got in mind?
Oh, how about some golf at Pebble Beach Saturday afternoon?
Great. Anything to get out of here.
The world of tomorrow will be as cold as sunlight tuned through photochromic windows.
Americans can be very useful. This is the Morning Stream.
All right, we're back, everybody. Welcome back. That was very good. I may have to check out the rest of their music.
Now you know the rest of Child's music. Childe is the pronunciation or spelling of that one.
They seem rad.
Yeah.
I like that kind of music. All right, we are moments away from being joined by and with Wendy and Dunford.
Okay.
Located at 4221. Just kidding.
I'm officially texting Tina right now to say, we are never buying strawberries at the grocery store
it's so
again.
gross. It's so gross. Wendy, hi. How are you?
Why? Don't tell me there's one more thing.
All right,
I
let me
can't
tell you.
do.
Let me tell you what it is, and you need to. Maybe you can try this. Just take a couple of strawberries when you get another. When you get some.
Yeah.
Put
I
them
have
in
some in my fridge right now.
Put them in the bowl of dissolved salt water. Yeah, I guess dissolved matters. I don't know why. And apparently, a whole bunch of bugs that live in this stuff will just come out and like swim around in the water. So that's just a thing.
Living in the strawberries.
You guys.
Hey, it's protein, man. We got to get it somewhere. So
Listen, why do you know this?
Because I saw a bunch of
TikTok?
videos. Yeah, I saw some videos on TikTok, and they were all
Gotten his damn TikTok addiction.
people were putting berries in a bowl of salt, and this was the result, and it was pretty freaky.
Oh my gosh. I have a question. What do they like after the salt bath? Do they taste like salt strawberries?
Oh, I'm sure they do. I mean, salt is used a lot to sort of purge. Like if you're going to have crawdads or shrimp or whatever, you use salt to sort of purge the.
I was
stuff.
kind of wondering that too. Like, do these people then just rinse off the strawberries and eat them, or are they too disgusted by all the worms that came out of them to?
I mean, they probably could, right? Like,
I don't know.
Well, I'm not going to do it until after I've eaten my thing of strawberries. I'll save one. That's what I'll do. I'll save one and do it afterwards.
Save one and try
Okay.
it. I'm going to do it
really?
today.
You want to look at what you just ate as opposed to
Yeah.
what you could eat?
Yep.
I'm going to do it today and test it. I'm dying to know if I can get it to happen. And we just got new strawberries, so I'm totally going to try this. Anyway, so there's that fun thing for you to hear when you come onto the show.
Yeah. Thanks
it's
for one more thing to think about.
It's my sister Wendy. She is a therapist and comes on the show on Thursdays to do Therapy Thursday to help us with some of our problems. Sometimes we get emails, other things. Sometimes we just talk about topics. Lately, it's been kind of dealing with the world as it is currently unfolding in front of us. And today will be a little bit of that, but the one advantage that we have in talking to you is that you are in the state and near the city where this all kicked off, or the impetus for this tipping point. And it's easy to for people on the outside to go, more riots and or peaceful protests getting busted up by angry cops, all happening there in Minneapolis and and across the country. It's a lot of sort of all the bad stuff. And we don't hear a lot about what's happening on the ground in communities, people trying to help each other, that sort of stuff. And so you and I talked by text about this a little bit, but I am curious what you are actually seeing on the positive side, because clearly there is. We just aren't getting that as much. We don't hear about it as much.
Yeah, well, and there's part of why you don't hear about it is because humans we have a bias for negativity. And it's because it's this ability, it gives our brain sort of the right rush of chemicals in order to sort of get us in a place to create safety, right? Because our sort of primary drives are safety and security, survivalist stuff, right? Like I need water, I need food.
Right.
I need to know that I'm safe. And so when we that's why the town crier was the town crier. We needed somebody to tell us that something that was going on so we could protect ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so this has always existed. It's built into our humanity, as it were. And it is natural for us to, and the way the news works is nobody's paying them to tell us the nice things that happen, right? They're going to make they're going to, if we purchase it or consume it, then they're gonna make it.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here still. Brian, for some reason Brian got lost and I don't know why. His internet may have gone down, but you and I are still here.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a very it's an understandable thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So there's that to start with, but again, I always find it interesting that it also doesn't pay to have some of the extra good stories. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not in charge of the newspaper world, but
right. I mean, boy, that's a big question. Like for me lately, people are like, so okay, here are the kinds of things you see on social media or even other places. Check out this video, the one the media doesn't want you to see. You hear those sorts of things, and that gets used by everybody with a narrative. They all say this. This is the video that the media doesn't want you to see, and I hate it. I can't freaking stand that tactic. But then there are other people who are like, oh well, if it wasn't for the media giving these people exposure, we would never have this thing, whatever the thing is, right?
Yeah.
So then they're blamed for that. So they're either blamed for not showing something, or they're blamed for showing something, and maybe there's some monicum of blame to be taken. I'm not saying that the media does everything right. And by media, I mean, I don't know, whatever the mainstream media even is now. I'm not defending them. They've got their own problems. But it seems to me like we're probably they're probably too easy of a scapegoat because they're in a business. And also we think of it as, well, most of us think of it as an important business to have, like a free and open press, despite it being sort of entrenched in also making a profit, is important, right? Because who else is going to talk about it? How are we spreading the information? Like, how do things get out there? How do we know about a thing? Like, an open and free press is an important thing in this country. At least I think a lot of people still feel that way. So their motivation is to get the most eyeballs, and oftentimes getting the most eyeballs means talking about the most controversial thing, or showing the most controversial thing, or the thing that would incite the most frustration or whatever. I was thinking about yesterday this this okay hand signal that we've all known our entire lives is, you know, sort of co-opted by a certain segment of white supremacy. But then there's a lot of talk about, well, it really isn't. It started as a prank, and then people bought into it, and now it's just trolling when you see people do it. But also, if they're trolling with it, aren't they kind of doing it? You know what I mean? And a lot of people say, well, had the news not covered that and given that troll any oxygen to breathe, this would have never been a thing. But now it's a thing, and now, you know, blah 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 blah. I guess my point is, like, I think we're stuck with that, whether we like it or not. When they tell us stuff we want to hear, great. When they tell us stuff we don't want to hear, great. But they're going to be there. They got to be there. They got to do their thing. But the last thing they're going to do for their lead story on a Saturday night is go, well, they fed a lot of homeless tonight in Minneapolis, and also this guy donated a kidney. Like, they're not going to do that. Like, when are they going to do that?
And why not have, I don't know. And I know there's the Good News Network, and there, you know, I think, what's his name?
John
Krasinski did a whole thing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an actual network of news.
Right.
It has a different, I think I'm saying the name. I'm getting the names mixed up. Obviously you can find like Instagram accounts that just share good news, and they're amazing. So like, people are doing it on a smaller scale, of course. But it is astounding to me what happens to us. And so I've experimented a little with this in the past of, you know, taking a morning and reading all the stories that you're going to have access to. And then the next day, and then just paying attention for the day. And then the next day, waking up and only reading good news. Right. And then pay attention to your day. It's shocking. Yeah. It's shocking what happens, right? And here's the thing. If anyone's listening and going, but you got to talk about the real problems. It's like, okay, here's real quick. We will get to the real stuff in a second. But this very fundamental challenge we have that, you know, when humans are afraid, there's a tendency to fuel that fear with getting more information, because information supposedly is going to make us safer, because that is so built into our DNA. But there is the reality that if we don't have a balanced diet, it's really tricky to not be just consumed by fear, and to reinforce your biases that already exist, your blind spots that every one of us have. It's like they get locked in because there isn't some nuance that your brain can allow in, especially if we're not seeking out any nuance. And that's hard. I mean, journalism that is nuanced, long form, it's rough. That doesn't. You know, we want a soundbite, and we want to think we already know what it means. And that's just, it's how we're built. We're visual. We are quick to come to a conclusion about something, and it just confirms our biases, whatever they currently are. Right. So it's a tricky one. So here's my lame attempt to share some good news from the front of all of this. Right. So my neighbor across the street is a police officer, and so I've had some conversations with them and their family that's been really, really amazing to interact with them. He is not in the in the Minneapolis Police Department, which is the ones that are the four guys are from, and obviously where everything took place. He's on the St. Paul side. So the Twin Cities, they're twins, but they're not exactly the same.
They're not identical.
No. Arnold's twins. Anyway, and the training the St. Paul Police Department has had, and you know, I'm hearing from someone who has gone through it and has worked there a long time. So it's nice to have a conversation face to face with somebody who is an amazingly good person, a good dad, and just how heartbreaking. And the other day he's like, I'm part of the problem. I don't know. I feel like I've done the right things. And he was kind of going on this sort of, maybe I'm the bad guy, just really, really stressed out. And I mean, working constantly. Every single current police officer is doing 12-hour shifts back to back to back, like they're exhausted. And he's wondering this question. And I said, I think if you're capable of wondering that, then you're not the bad guy. Right? Mm-hmm. Like when someone says to me, am I crazy? I'm like, if you're asking that, you're not crazy.
Right.
Like having enough insight to say, where are my blind spots? Right. And looking at it. So that's been some of my conversations with him. And I've heard some really lovely things about some things that are happening between people and the police in his department and how they are handling and trying to deal with such a difficult situation. So there's that side. And then the other is there was a call put out. So when this all started and stores were being destroyed and fires were occurring. Mm-hmm. So, whenever there's a fire and firefighting, the water damage that is left tends to be the worst part. Right. Mm-hmm. And so you have whole blocks that were on fire or water damaged or broken glass and all of the things. And as soon as it was safe for anyone to go into that space, I mean, you had thousands and thousands of people in Minnesota just converge into the city. I mean, it was shoulder to shoulder, brooms and garbage bags and cleaning. And some good friends of mine went at various times, and sometimes it was safer or easier to be down there. Other times it was less so. We sent my friend in who's 6'5" and like 300 pounds. He did it first.
Yeah, cool.
We're like, you go first, and you could be physically intimidating if you need to be. So that's great. Anyway, so I did have a friend tell me sweeping out a Target, sweeping out, she said there was 2 feet of water in the entire Target. And she said they're just in there sweeping and with these big water boots and trying to clean out and salvage things. And she's like, you're watching, the little dollar bins, you're seeing like a little kid's pair of sunglasses float by, or, the Target symbol on a product float by. It was just surreal to be there, but thousands and thousands of people. So they all did, and they kept going back every single day. And then families started going in and kids helping. And I mean, it's just constant, and money being raised and, water brought to peaceful protesters and people helping them because they're there for very good reasons. And anyway, and then here's this is my favorite story. So 85 families are really, really close to right there from a perspective of, so the schools have been a great asset because they know the families, they know where the kids are. Yeah. The social workers in each of those places have some context for what's going on. And so somebody at a middle school that was really nearby asked for 85 bags of groceries, and just put a call out, went across Facebook or wherever, and could you bring it tomorrow between 8 and 12, and just bring it to the junior high, which was not burned or anything. It was still standing.
Right.
And that next morning, and a friend of mine was actually there for this, she said it was insane. They brought 10,000 bags of groceries.
Oh, geez. That's insane. Yeah, that's a lot.
And people sat in their cars for hours to pull up to drop off some groceries. And so now we have 10,000 bags of groceries, and that's too much food. Like, it's a problem. Right? And so now
still no toilet paper, strangely enough.
Plenty of toilet paper. Not really. But anyway, so it's one of those things that it's like so many people want to help. They don't know what to do. So they're just going to do something. And then now we have food we got to deal with. And so here's where I got a chance to be involved. And I was thrilled because it makes you feel so much better to have a part to play. And we can talk about why and what that means. But so my friend runs Girls on the Run here. And if anyone has some money burning a hole in their pocket and wants to donate to an amazing thing, it's Girls on the Run, Twin Cities specifically. She's a program director there, and she cares a lot. And she said, you know what are my skill sets that I can apply to this right now? And their skill set is every year. So what Girls on the Run is it's a program for girls between the age of, I don't know if it's age, but it's grade based. So like 3rd and 5th grade. And they do all this self-esteem work. They do all this. It's all research based. It's fantastic. And these training sessions, and they have coaches from the community that come and do it. Sometimes teachers do it. And it's at an after school thing. And then these kids all run a 5K at the end of the term. So they do these 10 lessons. I believe it's 10. And then they have an adult running buddy that runs with them. And you just celebrate these girls. And the long-term impact is awesome. Like it's super research-based. It's amazing.
Right.
Well, she knows every single school. She knows every single social worker in every single school. She, that uses this program. So she just made a call and said, what does everybody need? And got a specific list and did a sign-up sheet. And in 12 hours, she had all the food necessary to feed 200 or 300 families and give them toiletries. And then while we were doing the food drive, it was awesome. And it's organized because that's all they do. They organize hundreds of people all the time, right? So they had their little thing up. It was in their parking lot, and we all gathered the food, and a big old truck pulled up and dropped off 2 pallets of food. And we were like, well, what's this? And he's like, those 10,000 bags of groceries? Here's some of them. So it was awesome because we absolutely had a home for everything, and we could give directly to the coaches or the social workers. We could hand them the groceries, and it would go right to those families. And people donated buses for us to carry it. I mean, it's magical to be a part of something like that.
Yeah.
To say we are meeting a very basic need, and it's where we know we can help. Food and diapers and formula, and these people don't have access to public transport because it's been closed the whole time.
Right.
And there's not a store for miles that they could go to, right? So they are literally in the desert, food wise.
Right.
And so it's like we can do this very basic thing, and this is what we can do right now. What can we do in the future? We will see. But it's just like the most wonderful experience to be around, and to be a part of, and to observe so much goodness, right? So much actual care, and to propel a movement forward where people feel safe in this country when they have not ever felt safe, right? Where maybe we're just giving someone a sandwich, but somebody needs to give somebody a sandwich as well, So there's value in getting your hands dirty in some way, or giving your money in some way to feel like you have some control. So what we tend to do is we either let's scare ourselves to death to feel like we have knowledge that gives us control. But I would argue, and there's research to back me up on this, that it's to do something actionable, which is why protesting feels so inviting and good, especially because we've just all been stuck in our houses for 3 months, because you're doing something, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's psychologically, we are driven to do that when there's a crisis.
How do you do? So let me ask you this question. If you're, I don't know, I guess right now, since this is affecting pretty much every city across the country, in some cases major or not, I mean, holy crap, it happened here. So if it happened in Salt Lake, it can happen anywhere. How do you know who to talk to or find out how you can be that kind of on the ground help?
Well, and I have enough conservative friends in my life and people that I love and care about to know that there is some very, and not just conservatives, I would say, well, it's pretty much all the old white ladies I talk to, but there's obviously fear and pearl clutching that sort of happens, right? And some of it is to think about your own lived experience. So if you have only experienced a time your neighbor's car got broken into, or you lost your wallet and no one returned it, right? That's going to be a lot of middle-class white people's experience with something, like that's really scary, and it invades your personal space and you hate it and it feels crappy. So to watch looting happen, your lived experience may connect you to the feeling of when you've been threatened. Mm-hmm. Or that feel. And so you maybe jump on the criticism about looting doesn't solve anything. And you just kind of, so then right then you're getting dopamine by yelling at your TV or telling your friend that oh, just can't believe they, and maybe that's where you start, and you take some of that out there. And so from that side, or just people are awful and you can just go sit in your house and try to feel safe by thinking people are awful. I would argue that isn't a great step. I would argue that this first step ultimately, and there are really great resources, and we can talk about those, and I can send you a few that if you guys want to post them that are helpful, because these are not ones that started on Monday. These are resources where people have been working for their lifetimes to improve things for communities of color. And one of the things that's very clear, and we're new to Minnesota, so we just thought everyone was happy-go-lucky, had no idea. But, turns out we are spending a lot of our time educating ourselves on the specific racist policies that have been in place for so long here. 2 freeways that we drive on are insane examples of redlining. So there was 2 neighborhoods of wealthy Black communities. One was very middle class, the other one pretty wealthy. And both of those neighborhoods were basically destroyed so that 2 freeways could be put in. And so the way that roads work here is really weird and really connected to how segregated this city has become. So we destroyed areas where it was a growing sort of upper middle class Black communities. And then it's really clear, like the freeways block in certain communities. And the way the policing works is, we have a law in particular in Minnesota where there is no citizen review board of any police activity. And most major cities have that. We have a state law that says it is illegal to create such a thing. Yeah. So you tell me that isn't part of the problem. Absolutely. Right. So you can go historically all the way back. You will find, decision after decision where members of the communities of color were not invited to any table to have a discussion. Right. And so those policies again and again and again build up to this moment where the police here have had lots of problems. This isn't new in Minneapolis specifically, obviously, but it was a powder keg for all the reasons that it was. And then, and here we are, right? So there's reasons. And I think everyone's city has its own history with this type of thing. So maybe it's choosing to educate yourself on what's happening. I think we're passive recipients of social media and news sometimes. And then we have a fight online every once in a while, or we get in the comment section and our brain is telling us, well, you're doing something, but I don't know. Are you? I'm not sure you are. Yeah. So I have decided personally that this is it. This conversation right now is the only one I'm going to have about this because I don't want to waste any of my dopamine. So my dopamine is not going to a comment section. It's not going to try to blah, blah, blah. It's going to, we've had
or whatever. Yeah.
It's going to motivating me to do some things that I do care about. Education in particular, I've noticed since I've gotten here, this isn't new, the disparity between African-American outcomes and white kid outcomes is alarming and the biggest in the country. I mean, my kids are benefiting from one of the best schools in the country. And that's because I'm a white lady and I can afford to live out in the suburbs, right?
Right.
And so to really dig into my own stuff and my own biases, my own blind spots, and have conversations with my kids. So I'm going to start really small at home and I'm not going to waste my dopamine on anybody else yet, right? And it's not even that. It's that it takes, I think a lot of people just want everything to go back to normal, right? Just go back to normal. Like, what's freaking normal? It's 2020. Nothing is normal.
Yeah.
There's no going back to something normal. So maybe it's, what do we each need to do? And some of it is telling stories with our loved ones about our own experiences. And I told this story I'm not going to tell the story again, but I told on this show a long time ago. The first time I realized I had white privilege, the first time it slapped me right in the face at that Walmart when that dude pulled me out of the line and I was the only one he served, the manager of the store. And then he closed the thing right after me and everyone around me was brown.
Yeah. That was, I remember you telling me that. I was like, are you kidding me? What the freaking crap?
And then why did I not chase him down? Right. And so you have to ask yourself questions, like I benefited from so many things, but I just didn't know. So I'm not the worst human on earth, but can I do something? Heck yeah. So can I stay away from just slacktivism? Because slacktivism is easy, right? I can just sit on my couch. I can tweet what I want. I can. So it's saving some of that energy to do something that you care about. And so that's what I loved about the Girls on the Run thing. It was lift where you are already standing, right? Like she is already geared up and ready to be able to pull this amazing thing off. It was amazing to watch. And yet for her, it's what she would do on a Tuesday with her job. And so, do it. So that's kind of it, is like all that good I have been seeing here in Minnesota is because people are good. And then they lift where they can. They give it a shot, right? Like, and so is there a lot more work to do? Yes. As but where are you right now? And for your own sort of mental health and safety, because you know what, by doing that, I felt 1,000 times more safe and in control, even though that's an illusion. I'm not any more safe or in control, but it really, there is so much power in being face to face with someone and doing something good. Now, obviously you have to wear a mask and this makes everything that much harder, but
Yeah, I agree. It's funny. I had this experience yesterday where it hit me. Now I've got people going, hey, I'm really grateful that you guys have talked about some of these issues on your shows and used your platform in a positive way. Or I'm really glad you're using your Twitter platform to call out some of these injustices and, that you're helping and not being part of the problem, blah, blah, blah. Like a lot of nice little compliments. And it hit me yesterday, like a ton of bricks, kind of like Dad used to say, hit me like a ton of bricks. He'd always say, that it's not, I'm grateful that they see it as positive, but it's not like I had to sacrifice anything. Do you know what I mean? No. Like how easy is it for me, a white dude, like you said, on my couch with a pithy reply to the Washington Redskins about how they maybe ought to look at their own stuff before they start telling us how supportive they are of racial equality. And thinking, yeah, look at that smart one I put up there on Twitter. Take that, world. But I'm doing it from this position of safety. Like, I'm not putting anything on the line by doing that. And what kicked it off for me was a guy I was reading on Twitter. He said, I've owned this store. It was a store owner somewhere. I've owned this store for 20 years or whatever it was. I don't remember the exact details, but the gist of it was, I've owned this store and I have never once on any social media or any public advertising made it known that I am a black person and this is a black-owned business. And I didn't do that because I was afraid to do it, that it would lose business, that it would cause problems, that I would be making myself a target. Real fears from a person with real reasons to fear. And he says, today I'm changing all of that. And he's, I think very bravely making the point that I'm not going to hide behind that anymore. He had reason to hide behind it because he had real threats to him, right? Not just perceived threats, like it's a real threat to him. No. Easy for me to say, this is terrible. We need to finally fix the 200 years of racial injustice in this country. And I really, truly believe it. Like, I believe this is a tipping point. I believe it's important. I believe that Black Lives Matter. And I not only believe that, I believe that their voices matter and listening to what they have to say matters. All of that is true, but I'm still doing it from a position of safety. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really putting myself out there when I say this stuff. I mean, I want to be. That's out of a desire to be doing that. And that's why I asked you, how can people get involved in their communities more? But I'm not really. And it hit me yesterday like I said, a ton of bricks. I had to just kind of lay down on the couch and think about it for a while. Because would I be so vocal and so upset and so any of that if I thought my family was at risk or my that it was, I if I was putting a target on my head as a black person would be if they were putting themselves out like that? No, I'm not. I'm doing this from this, like, I'm not saying it isn't worth it and it's not important. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
Right.
I'm doing this. I am not some brave warrior in this. I am agreeing with the brave warriors, and I want to help them.
Supporting the brave warriors, but you want to
But
be
I'm
a
not
brave warrior yourself.
Yeah, and I'm not that. I know that I'm not that guy, and I think it's okay to face that head on, because it was a real learning experience for me to know, we're not. It's so easy to even. It's easy to point at people and say, "Oh, you think all lives matter? You're making this about you or whatever," right? You can criticize that all day. But in some ways, those of us who are really with this and want positive change, in some ways, we're not all that different. We're doing it from a privileged position. It's literally the definition of privilege.
Safety of our couches.
Yeah,
like when they said the selectivism.
Yeah, I'm probably not explaining this very well, but you
no,
get what I'm saying?
You're explaining it perfectly, and I think there's the key here is being uncomfortable, right? Being for 5 friggin' minutes, being uncomfortable and going, oh, I am part of this, and I am ill-equipped to have these conversations. My first client on Tuesday, so whatever, it all started, is somebody from Nigeria, but has lived here since she was a teenager. So she is real recent African-American.
Mm-hmm.
And I just stared, and I was like, I'm so ill-equipped. Like, I don't even know how to do this. And I usually have an idea what I'm doing in therapy. At least I think I do, right?
Yeah.
And that was my ton of bricks moment. And she helped me through. And that sucks that she has to help some dumb middle-aged white lady handle her feelings. I swear, if I have one more white lady talk about how sad she is, I want you to take that sad and I want you to do something with it. So actually, let's talk about that for a second. That what can you do? I think at the very core, and of course, it's my worldview. And so everyone has their own. I always like to take people's occupation and then help draw analogies from it, because what you do, like say you're a carpenter. Well, I got a hammer, so I'm seeing a lot of nails.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, can we work with that?
Mm.
Can we work with, you need to use your hands to do a thing, and then like find what you're good at. My friend who organizes giant races and makes sure 3rd to 5th grade girls feel loved and safe. Like, she just did her jam. Like, she just was herself, right? With an awareness of her privilege, and with an eye to, I have got to be uncomfortable, but I'm going to do what I'm good at to make sure someone else can do what they need to do so this moves forward, right? So I think of my training and what I would offer anyone to think about, and I am definitely not the first to say this, but this concept of listening, right? Like really hearing what someone's been through, what their lived experience is. So it's easy to go, oh, there's a Black-owned business guy, and he said he'd never. You could go like, oh, okay, but really stop and hear it, and think about, you put any one of your people. So maybe it's a white person, maybe it's a religious person in your religious community, maybe it's someone with your last name, maybe it's whatever, and you put them under the knee of a cop for 8 minutes while people watch, and just put yourself there. So listening has so much power because it can build empathy, right? You can actually put yourself in someone's shoes. You can feel that. But here's where, as the therapy trick that is, which I wish I could give all of us as we attempt to listen, to really hear other people, is to not make it about you. Now, I just said, hey, get in their shoes. That's to understand their feeling.
For empathy. Right.
Yeah. But to not make it about you while they are making you uncomfortable. That's what we're not great at. So when I have a client who's going to tell me some story that has zero impact on me, I can absolutely listen, be empathetic, and be present. It's not making me uncomfortable. But as soon as they're going to talk about a thing that hits one of my buttons, right? Like one of my buttons currently is someone calling all of this just riots and looting and going on and on, especially if they're a white lady.
Yeah.
So that is one of my buttons. So I have to really dig deep and take a breath and still meet them where they are and listen, because that's their lived experience, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is what is a huge thing that is called for, and that everyone needs to attempt. And so I do think social media culture has lend itself to all of us just knee jerk saying the thing that our reactivity to something, right? So you push my button, I respond, and now we're all responding based on those things, not responding. And I think people are trying, absolutely trying to respond out of genuine care and genuine concern and trying to be available to be uncomfortable, right? Because me not knowing for all my life until I was 30 that I had any advantage, right? That just wasn't conscious, right? And we grew up in a biracial family. You think we would have had experiences prior to that, and maybe yours was younger, but I never saw it. I just know people thought I was way taller than my sister. That was about my understanding.
For me, it was just like an aberration of like, occasionally something would happen. That time Matt got called a chink on the bus. And my only experience up to that point was my dad saying that as a term of endearment in the house. So to me and Matt, it didn't sound right. It was like, wait, you're saying that thing my dad says when he's joking. We could argue whether dad should have ever said that or not, but it doesn't matter. The point is we knew it was a term of endearment with him, and this other guy was saying it in this really mean way, and then I watched Matt kick the crap out of him. But the point is I hadn't really – that was maybe the first time I'd really ever experienced that headlong,
Right. And your experience wasn't necessarily that you were being benefited because your skin color.
Right.
You were just witnessing. And I read an article yesterday that was – I think it was in The Atlantic. It was fantastic. I should know better before I talk about it, but it was a woman who was adopted, a Black woman who was adopted into a white family. And she has this experience where she's 5, where a girl takes her out to the lake and they're all sort of swimming. And she asks if she can take her further out. And her mom says, yeah. And she takes her out and drops her in the water and she can't swim and she's drowning. And finally an adult came and saved her. And all of these kids are just watching as you panically are watching this happen. And she's the only child that's Black, of course.
No.
And she didn't know this till years later, but that girl who dropped her off in the water walked away and called her the N-word.
Yeah.
So it was racially motivated. And the story she's describing is not that just all these white people are watching. It's her sister who is watching, who's also white, but watching.
Yeah.
And this idea of standing back and being so confused. Like, I don't know what to do. It's not my job. And so you have this sort of dynamic where have we been in all of this? And we've talked enough about race on this show. I don't think we've steered clear of it by any means. I don't know if we've talked a lot about it, but it's the kind of thing of like, where was I standing while that girl was drowning? And would it be different? Groups are fascinating things, and life is tricky. And so it's not all about like, oh, shame and bad and I'm horrible, but let's have some uncomfortable conversations and some moments of self-reflection. I think that is, if you haven't done that, that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be huge, to really listen and be very careful to not make your Black acquaintances suddenly responsible for your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
They've spent their whole entire lives being responsible for everybody's feelings and managing other people's feelings. Like, let's stop with that. So don't put on them that, you know what I mean? But like, really do your own work. And that's why I talk about dopamine. Like, I'm not posting on Instagram. I don't want, like, I have nothing wise to say. So all of you should just go listen to somebody else, because it's really obvious to me that I have more to do, and I don't want to lose my dopamine.
Yeah,
it's kind of a weird way of putting it, but
you got to get it a different way. You got to, I know, because dopamine can come. Here's how people should look at it. Like, if you really want to think of the drug comparison of, you've got your own drug dispenser in your head, and you really want to get a good hit, figure out a really majorly cool thing you could do that would actually literally really truly help somebody in this. Man, your dopamine receptors are going to fly off the handle. You're going to be like a freaking meth head by the end of the day. It'll be amazing.
Right.
So it's probably a bad example, but you know what I mean? Like really get it that way. The little micro ones you get from being pithy or thinking you know it all, or you telling off your mother-in-law, or whatever it is.
Did you tell off your mother-in-law?
No, but I had to block a family member. My mother-in-law's actually doing pretty good in this, surprisingly, because she's got tendencies. But I mean, when I say tendencies, she's got a lot of back history that she has her biases. Let's just put it that way. But I had to block another family member from everything because it just I can't do it. I feel like the cause, sometimes the cause is slightly lost, or at the very least it needs to be on hold while I attend other meaningful things in my life, and that's where that one's at. So I don't even know if they know that they've been completely blocked out by me, but they'll start.
Are they blocked from listening to your podcast? Because maybe they know if they're listening.
I don't. They may be. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me if they do or don't. I'm at that stage where I'm in complete I'm ignore mode. But if there may be some family events eventually when social distancing is less strict, and I may or may not go to ones that they go to. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. But anyway, point is, yeah, these are the act of listening. So it's funny, just outside of times like this, it's always a topic, right? Oh, learning to listen is a great skill. True listeners are the best leaders, and you always hear these sort of platitudes about listening. And I feel like it's all come to this, like how good is your listening skills? Did you pay attention in school when they taught you what the difference between listening and talking was, and why you listen, and how to focus on what someone's saying? And now we have to use it, and we're all different levels of bad at it. Seems like. Yeah.
And maybe, maybe you have been an ally for a long time, and maybe you have more of these skills, and this is my brain tends to take negative things and make them positive very quickly, almost obnoxiously. Like, I think Adam is constantly like, why can't you just be annoyed by something longer or sad by something longer or whatever? Like, we've lost a ton of money one time because of a thing that happened that was out of our control, and had to pay out some money immediately. It was awful. And it was like 30 seconds. And I went, well, that's what it is. And he's like, seriously, can't we just be real mad? So I have a problem with that. I get it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it a little bit here, which is like, this is a gift, right? On one hand, first of all, when do you have a pandemic? When do you have Donald Trump as president? When do you have that event occur and be so clearly filmed? And then you have people responding in a way, and justice maybe being served. I mean, I know it's not all over, but there's some other things that have led up to this. And my brain has a hard time not going, this is the best thing that could have happened. And that we have a chance for something really good to come out of that. And I know that's Pollyanna, and I'm sorry when everyone only sees dark clouds. I get it, but there is something about that this moment might matter, and it feels historic and amazing. And last night I had a conversation with one of my friend's daughters. So she is biracial. She's triracial. She's Mexican and Japanese and Caucasian and amazing, and lives in LA and is ready. I mean, boots on the ground. She's 15. I think she's 16 actually now. And she is just a lovely human being. And she's like, I want to be part of this. I want to make a difference. This matters to my life too. Not only, just because I live in LA and just because I'm an American citizen, but also because I don't know what's happening for me in the future either,
Right.
And we had this conversation, and I cannot tell you, I thought, we are going to be fine. If there's one kid like this, we are going to be fine.
Right. Because if there's one, there's got to be more. And yeah.
That's a great way to look at it. Like I've had similar experiences lately where a kid will say a thing, neighbor kid or somebody, and I'm just like, you know what? They're going to see this. They're going to take this and make some change. Like there's a real chance here for that. Like a real chance for some change, and maybe more than ever, right? We got a real tipping point moment, and enough is enough moment, and maybe we can do the right thing with it.
We Tina said that last night on the news they were talking about that last night was the first night that the peaceful protests ended and dispersed, and there was no rioting, looting, anything like that. Like this was a completely peaceful protest night, and now it feels like, all right, this is where the message can finally come through. But it also is like, all right, we're turning a corner. People are realizing that, yeah, this is how the conversation needs to happen to open people's eyes and not distract from the actual message with the violence and the destruction.
Sure. I got Brian Dunaway did a really good thing. He said this, and you don't usually hear stuff like this out of our friend Brian, because he usually kind of keeps to himself and doesn't really get involved. But he says, saying all lives matter is the equivalent of seeing someone pleading for help, saying they don't want to drown, and you yelling back, nobody wants to drown, and then walking away feeling better about yourself for having corrected their dying words. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. And we got to start looking at it that way. Somebody replied to him and says, what about the Asian lives and the oceanic lives and the African lives? And he said, is that a genuine question of concern for their lives, or are you just using other tragic injustices to distract us from the drownings right in front of us? I don't know if I've ever heard him talk so
wow, no kidding.
eloquently
Usually
about
it's,
anything.
oh, hi.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. Normally I'd say, Brian, you get like a gas
Did
leak
somebody
or something?
hack you? Yeah.
What's going on? But it really hit me hard, and there's some real truth there. So anyway, this has been good. I think.
But let me say one last thing with what you said with Brian and with you guys, and everyone's sphere of influence is where their sphere of influence is, right? And so when you have a platform and you can have conversations, I've always admired your ability, Scott, to ask a troll to tea and let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
That is hard to do.
They don't always do it, by the way. They often
I know,
just
they don't always
they don't want to go.
Yeah. No, they like to fire their bombs out of anonymity and then hide.
Right.
Yeah, often.
Right. And honestly, it's a sad existence when you're missing some connection, right? And you're offering connection. And I think, with your platform, you can, and Brian can say that, and people may listen more than others. I know people like to criticize celebrities, but guess what? They have a platform. And Billie Eilish, for example, I don't follow her on anything, but I did see her analogy for the all lives matter thing. Mm-hmm. She said if, the fire department was called to put out a house fire, but they had to dose every single house on the way before they got to the house on fire, then, it's a problem. And so, okay, can she say that? And her 1 billion followers, does it matter? I mean, I think it does. But you have that. I don't really have that, and that's okay. I don't really want that. I want to know that I can do the things that I know how to do, and that's everybody, right? So wherever you are, and I think I sent you this, and I love Sweden, of course, and they have their own problems. Believe me, they're not perfect, but man, I feel like they're ahead of us in so many ways. But just a story about a woman who was an adult before anyone called her the N-word. Isn't that amazing, right? She's not a 5 or 6-year-old kid, which is a really common experience in America. These kids will hear this very young, and all that means. And she was on a train in Sweden, and an old lady near her clutched her purse and moved away from her and called her the N-word. And one by one, everyone on that train stood up for her and said, no, not okay. Yeah. And so that's her first experience. Can you imagine? Right? Now, obviously, a bunch of neo-Nazis in your train car is going to be a lot harder to defend than an old lady with a purse, right? But it's that idea of, hey, maybe you're on a train and you can do something right in that moment. Or maybe you can write something, or maybe you can... In my case, I give food. That's like a thing. I know people need, and I know I can do it. And I will help people so that they can help people with food. And right. So just find your place that you're already in and do something. And then for some people, you're going to be called to do more. So maybe that's a combo of do something where you stand, but also do some work on being uncomfortable with some of these feelings and some of this experience, and doing your work. And that, I mean, I feel like I say this every week. Do your own work. Do your work. Do your work. Do your work.
Yeah. I think that's a fair...
Well, it's because you're always giving us homework.
Yeah.
I know.
Jeez.
All right. Homework America. Stop being racist.
Yeah.
Cool?
Quit being racist. There'll be a quiz on Monday. Come on back and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff as always. I hope things continue to look up and not down out where you are. And some people in the chat were like, wait, Wendy's not in Sweden still? I'm like, yeah, she's been here for like 2 years now.
Yeah.
Been home for
I'm in the Sweden of America.
She is in the Sweden of America.
There's some real systemic racist problems.
Yeah. Other than that one huge thing. It's very Swedish.
Right. Lots of lakes,
Yeah.
very, very Swedish like.
That's true. So I don't know what we'll talk about next week, but don't worry, everybody. We'll have something. We'll think of something. Last night I was like, oh, what are we even going to talk about? And of course, Wendy had ideas. So
I would love someone to send in an email. That would be great.
We've got. I have so this is an interesting effect of all of this. Our emails vastly increased during the pandemic shutdown.
Yeah.
And have the opposite completely dried up during the riots or during the protests. I have theories as to why that is, but I don't really know. There's no show. I think what it is, everyone's attention is glued to some screen somewhere, either interactively or otherwise, and they just are their personal problems, questions, things that we would normally hit on Therapy Thursday have just taken a back seat. So hopefully some of you will feel better about cracking open that email and letting us know, because we'd love to hear from you. themorningstream@gmail.com is where you can send it, and all the other ways we get stuff. Okay. Wendy, have a fantastic week. I hope the kids are good, and let us know if you need anything from us.
Okay.
I don't know what that would be, but probably nothing. We'll see you later. Okay. Losing my voice there. Brian, it's now that time. It's that time where we pretty much end the show, except for this. I want to go ahead and give a shout out. We mentioned during the pandemic times, wanted to give people pimp time. That's what we'll call it, or maybe not. Maybe we should call it. I don't know.
Time to honor those pimps in our community.
Yes. Here's a pimp. No, this is Jason.
Plug time.
Plug time. He wrote in and says, "Hey guys, my friend Jonathan does voice and marketing work locally here in Houston. And business has taken a nosedive since the Rona hit, so we are working a second job at a nearby grocery store to make up for the slack now. I was wondering if you could mention his website on the podcast someday when you have time. The address is www.jonathanlowvoice.com. That's Jonathan, Jonathan, Lowe, Lowe, voice.com.
Oh, so he just does, it's not that he has a low voice, it's LOWE voice.
Yeah, like going to Lowe's, like getting a
Jonathan
sprinkler.
Lowe, gotcha.
Getting sprinklers at Lowe's. Here's a general voice demo. I'm just going to play a little bit of it from his website.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this is cool. Check this out. Here we go. Music there at the beginning, as one might expect.
I wonder, something important is about to be said.
Yeah, I can feel it.
You can tell by the music.
Yeah.
This is a love story. This is also the story about a little children's hospital that grew over a century into a complex academic medical center.
It's very good. It's very good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hire that guy.
Hire him to do the intro to your podcast.
That's right. The address again, Jonathan Lowe with an E, voice.com, and go check it out. And thanks, Jason, for letting us know.
Very good.
All right. That's the end of this show. We're done. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon for a Patreon-only TMS PM, which will happen at 3:30 Mountain Time. Pretty sure Dan will be with us. Got to check with him, make sure his schedule's a little nuts right now, but I think we'll have him on, and that'll be good. So check it out. If you are interested in getting that and you're not a patron, you could literally sign up right now for $1 a month, and you'd get that episode. So you get your own RSS feed. If you want to get the audio only, if you want to be there for the live one, we put it up on Patreon right before we go to air. I got to do something about the song, though, because YouTube is all mad at me again for last week's song. Anyway. Because we do YouTube Live for that. Anyway, it's weird.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, they're going to hate this. They're going to hate tomorrow's song then. Oh, boy.
Oh, no. So anyway, we'll figure that out. But in the meantime, details over at frogpants.com/TMS or patreon.com/TMS. Every way you need to get a hold of us is there as well. Don't forget those email addresses, themorningstream@gmail.com, or you can use the site, or you can find us on Twitter @morningstream. All right, Brian, let's go. Do you have a song to play as we go?
Oh, I didn't even. Okay, let me see if I can come up with something real quick. Here we go.
Okay, good.
Matthew wrote in and said, on June 3rd, yesterday, my wife Carolyn or Caroline, will be celebrating her 36th birthday. This song helped convince her to give our relationship a shot 11 years ago, and she has been my Rick through good times and bad. So I guess the Rick and Morty, I'm hoping that's what he means.
Okay.
So I wanted to dedicate a song to her here on her special day. I love you, my tiny smiles, signed Matthew.
Oh.
So happy birthday to Caroline from Matthew.
Sweet
sorry I missed
Caroline.
This. Yeah. Sorry, I missed this one yesterday. I don't know how I didn't see it, but because we had a birthday for the kid who likes Toy Story. So
right.
A lot of people with birthdays on the 3rd.
Yep.
The
kid who likes Toy Story.
Kid who likes Toy Story.
No, you're right.
The rarity of a kid who likes Toy Story.
Yeah.
So this one is by James Morrison. He recorded a new version of his hit song, You Give Me Something. This is a UK artist that has just a great voice. He recorded a new acoustic version of his You Give Me Something for BBC Radio 1's Live Lounge. They included on their album back in 2007. Here's James Morrison and You Give Me Something.
All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Those of you who get the PM, join us then. We'll see you.